They say every bride wakes up with butterflies on the morning of her wedding. I woke up with vomit on my dress, bruises on my arm, and no memory of the night before. At first I thought it was a nightmare. I opened my eyes to a ceiling I didn't recognize. My head pounded like someone had taken a hammer to it. My mouth was dry. My mascara was streaked down my cheeks. And the white dress I'd worn to my rehearsal dinner was bunched awkwardly around my waist, dirty, wrinkled, and torn near the hem. Then the panic hit. Where was I? The bed was unfamiliar. The walls were beige. There was a fan creaking overhead and a glass of water on the nightstand I knew I didn't pour. I tried to stand, but my legs wobbled. My phone was dead. My purse was missing. My memory was blank. My wedding was in 4 hours. I stumbled barefoot out into the hallway, trying to piece together what had happened. The last thing I remembered was Rachel, my cousin and maid of honor, handing me a cocktail after the toast. She said I looked nervous. Said one drink wouldn't hurt. Said it would help me relax. And then, nothing. Just blackness. I flagged down a cab with shaking hands and whispered the address of the church like a prayer. The cab driver kept glancing at me through the mirror, probably wondering what disaster I'd crawled out of. When I arrived, guests were leaving. The ceremony was already over. People were whispering, staring. My mother was standing on the steps in a pearl dress, arms crossed. Her eyes locked onto mine like I was filth under her shoe. "Where were you?" she asked coldly. I told her someone must have drugged me. I told her I didn't remember anything after the rehearsal dinner. That I would never miss my wedding by choice. She didn't believe me. No one did. They all believed I ran. My fiancé Ethan? He didn't even wait to hear my side. By the time I made it to the church, he was gone. Left with his best man, humiliated, convinced I'd changed my mind, and left him standing there like a fool. My name was already trending on Facebook. Runaway bride. But I didn't run. I was pushed. And I was going to find out who did it, because someone didn't just try to ruin my wedding. They tried to ruin my life. I didn't cry. Not at first. Shock has a way of freezing your soul, like it's protecting you from the pain your brain isn't ready to process. But inside that cab, after the crowd disappeared and the whispers faded, I curled into the back seat and let myself fall apart. Ethan blocked my number. Within an hour of arriving at the church, he vanished from my life like I was nothing more than a bad decision he needed to erase. His mother, who never liked me not even for a second, posted a cryptic status about dodging bullets and lies, and her friends ate it up like popcorn at a movie. I scrolled through it all, numb, as if it were happening to someone else. Someone reckless. Someone selfish. Someone who ran. But I didn't. The next morning I sat at the edge of my bed with a pounding headache, a pit in my stomach, and a hole in my memory. Rachel knocked on my door, holding a coffee in one hand and a fake look of concern in the other. "I just wanted to check on you," she said. "You really scared us yesterday." "Scared them?" "I don't remember anything after the drink you gave me," I said, watching her face closely. She blinked, then smiled like nothing was wrong. "It was just rose, Mia. Maybe you drank too fast." "Rachel, I know the difference between drinking too fast and being drugged." Her eyes narrowed just for a second. "Are you saying I did something?" "You were the one who handed me the glass," I said slowly. "And then I woke up in a motel room with no memory." "Motel room?" she gasped, feigning shock. "What motel?" I told her. Her reaction was too quick. "That place is gross," she said. "Why would you go there?" "I didn't go there. Someone took me there." But I didn't say it out loud. Not yet. I needed her to keep talking. I needed to know what she knew. "I found a bruise on my shoulder," I said. "Looks like a handprint." She bit her lip. "I mean, you were kind of all over the place that night." I tilted my head. "How would you know? You said you left early." She stammered. I saw the pictures." "Pictures? What pictures?" Rachel froze. Then she stood up too quickly, spilling her coffee onto the carpet. "Ugh. Crap. I should go. Just, maybe lay low for a while, okay? This whole thing will blow over." She left without another word. And that's when I knew. She wasn't just involved. She was behind it. Rachel had always been competitive. Always a little too envious. In high school, she tried to sleep with my boyfriend just to prove she could. When I got promoted at work, she accused me of using pity points because I came from a single-parent home. She was the kind of cousin who smiled to your face and sharpened the knife behind your back. But this was a different level of evil. So I didn't have proof. Just suspicion. So I started digging. First, I went back to the motel. The manager didn't recognize me, but when I showed him a picture of Rachel, his eyes flickered. He said she'd come in around midnight, paid in cash, and told him not to disturb the girl in room 14 because she was recovering from a panic attack. He even remembered her calling me by name. Then came the photos. Anonymous, of course. Sent to my old email, which I hadn't checked since college. They showed me stumbling out of a car, makeup smudged, half-conscious. Rachel was holding my arm. In one, she was smiling at the camera. It wasn't concern on her face. It was triumph. I saved every file. Every timestamp. Every detail. But I didn't confront her. Not yet. That I found Ethan. Not in person, he still wouldn't speak to me, but through a friend who worked at the same law firm. I sent him the photos. The motel info. A short message. I didn't run. He didn't reply. But his silence said enough. The damage was done. My wedding was over. My reputation destroyed. My heart broken. But Rachel wasn't going to walk away from this like it was just another mean girl game. He wanted to ruin my life. He forgot that I still had one. 3 weeks passed. 3 weeks of pretending I was okay while the world watched me fall apart from the outside in. My mother avoided me like I had committed a crime. My aunts whispered that I must have been having cold feet. Ethan's family ran with the narrative that I was unstable, dramatic, and probably cheating. Rachel. She posted a carousel of throwback photos from my bridal shower, captioned, "Some people just aren't ready for real love." Sending healing vibes. I was done being quiet. I started with the truth. First, I reached out to a friend of mine from college, Layla, who had experience working with digital forensics. I asked her to help me trace the metadata in the anonymous emails and the origin of the photos. It took her less than 24 hours to confirm that the IP address used to send them came from Rachel's apartment. Then came the phone records. I remembered seeing a burner phone on the nightstand in that motel. I'd barely touched it, but by some miracle it was still in my bag. I had tossed it aside that first morning, assuming it belonged to someone else or was planted by mistake. Turns out it had one outgoing call, made the night I went missing, to a ride service. Guess whose number they called? Rachel's. It was unraveling. The lies. The manipulation. The smear campaign. All of it like thread pulled from a too-tight dress. But I still didn't have why. Why would she go this far? The answer came one Friday afternoon, through a text from an unknown number. It was a photo. Ethan and Rachel, together, laughing at a rooftop bar. Her hand was on his chest. His smile was real. And it all clicked. She didn't just want to ruin my wedding. She wanted my fiancé. Rachel always chased what wasn't hers. Only this time she didn't just take what I had. She made sure I was too broken to stop her. But I wasn't broken anymore. I was angry. And anger, when channeled right, is power. I spent the next few days building a timeline, gathering everything. Photos, emails, texts, call logs, receipts, timestamps. I put it all into a folder. Then I bought a new outfit, straightened my hair, and walked into Ethan's office unannounced like a storm dressed in silk. His assistant looked up, startled. "Tell him Mia's here," I said. "And I'm not leaving." Minutes later I was in his office. He looked surprised, older, wearier, but not guilty. I handed him the folder. "What is this?" "The truth," I said. "The thing you never waited for." He sat down, flipping through the documents. His eyes moved faster with every page. When he reached the photo of Rachel at the motel, he stopped cold. "She drugged you." I didn't nod. I didn't need to. He leaned back, running a hand over his mouth. I thought you left me." "You never even asked," I said, voice flat. "You let the world tear me apart. You believed the version of me that fit the easiest narrative." He stared at the desk. "I'm sorry," he whispered. I stood up. "Sorry doesn't fix anything. I didn't come for an apology. I came so you'd know who you really left me for." He looked up sharply. It's not like that with Rachel. You don't owe me anything, I interrupted. But you owe yourself the truth. Then I walked out. I didn't turn back. That chapter was closed. But my story wasn't over. Rachel still had one more lesson coming, and I intended to deliver it personally. Some people would have stopped there. Walked away satisfied that the truth was finally out. That the man who believed lies had seen the evidence for himself. That the villain behind it all was finally exposed. But I couldn't do that. Not when Rachel was still walking around smiling in my place. Not when she got to play the victim while I spent weeks cleaning up her mess. Not when the same people who dragged my name through the mud were still clapping under her Instagram photos like she was some kind of hero. No. She needed to feel what it was like to be the one watching everything fall apart. I waited a few days. I wanted her to get comfortable. To think she had won. Then I paid a visit to someone she never expected to see me with. Brandon. Her ex. They'd been off and on for years. One of those toxic messes where no one ever really lets go. Rachel always said he was too clingy, but deep down I knew she liked having someone she could control. Someone who would always come back no matter how badly she treated him. Brandon was working the counter at the coffee shop near my apartment. When he saw me walk in, he nearly dropped the ceramic mug in his hand. Mia, he blinked. You look different. I am, I said. Got a minute? He hesitated then nodded. We sat in the corner booth and I told him everything. Not just what Rachel did to me the night before my wedding, but how she framed it, twisted it, and used it to get Ethan. Brandon didn't even blink. She's always been like that, he said, shaking his head. I knew she was messed up, but, damn. You want to help me? I asked, watching his face carefully. Or are you still under her spell? His eyes narrowed. What do you need? I smiled. We started small. A photo here, a sighting there. Brandon agreed to start seeing Rachel again. Casually, of course. Just enough to rattle her. Just enough to make her wonder if she was being watched. Then came the post. Anonymous. Old screenshots of texts she'd sent him. Flirting, complaining about Ethan, saying she missed their nights together. Dates and times that overlapped after Ethan and I got engaged. We didn't name names. We didn't have to. The internet did the rest. The comments came in waves. Isn't this Mia's cousin? Wait, didn't she just get with Mia's fiancé? I knew something about her was off. And then the messages started pouring into Rachel's DMs. Screenshots. Theories. Exposed lies. She couldn't control the narrative anymore. By the end of the week, her perfect little world was cracking. But I wasn't done yet. The final piece? A video. 1 minute and 32 seconds long. Footage from the motel's hallway camera showing Rachel entering with me slumped against her shoulder, and leaving alone. Layla helped me clean it up. Add timestamps. Blur the other faces. Then we leaked it. And that was it. The story went viral in less than 24 hours. Rachel tried to deny it. Claimed it was deep fake, edited, stalkers trying to ruin her reputation. But no one believed her. Ethan went silent online. Her followers dropped by the hundreds. Brand deals vanished. The sympathy she bathed in turned to suspicion. And for once she was the one with no voice left. I didn't have to say a word. It's funny how silence changes once you're the one in control of it. The same silence that once crushed me now became the space I stood in powerfully. Rachel's world was crumbling, but I didn't need to gloat. I didn't need to fight for the truth anymore. It was already screaming louder than anything she could ever say. And yet, a part of me still couldn't rest. Not until I looked her in the eyes. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It wasn't about Ethan or the wedding that never happened, or the stories they told about me while I was curled up on the bathroom floor learning how to breathe again. It was about closure. So I went to see her. She was staying with her mother, the woman who used to say I was like a second daughter. I rang the bell once and waited. The door opened slower than I expected. There she was. Wait. No makeup. Hair tied in a sloppy bun. Sweatpants too big for her tiny frame. The sparkle was gone. What remained was raw, stripped-down guilt. Or maybe just fear. Her mouth opened, but no words came out. I didn't step inside. I just wanted you to know, I said calmly. I forgive you. She blinked. I don't deserve that, she muttered. You're right, I replied. But I needed to say it. For me. I turned to leave, but her voice stopped me. Did you love him? I froze. Of course I did, I said, still facing away. But I love myself more now. She didn't respond. And that was the last time I saw her. By the end of the month, Ethan reached out again. A long email. He apologized properly this time, acknowledged what he'd failed to see, how quickly he let go, how sorry he was for everything. It was heartfelt, thoughtful, but not enough. I didn't respond. Because closure doesn't always come from others. Sometimes, it comes from realizing you've outgrown the people who broke you. And I had. Months passed. I moved cities. Took a promotion. Decorated my new apartment with plants I remembered to water and books I actually had time to read. I joined a yoga class. Started running again. I wasn't healing anymore. I was living. And one night while out with friends, someone asked about the scar on my left hand, the one I got from falling in the motel room that night. I looked at it, smiled, and said, That's just proof I survived something that almost broke me. You don't come back from something like that unchanged. You don't look at trust the same way. You don't hear the word love without measuring its weight. And you definitely don't give second chances to people who shattered you the first time. But you do become stronger. I didn't need revenge to feel powerful. I didn't need Ethan to come crawling back. And I didn't need Rachel to beg for forgiveness. Because I had already won the moment I stopped letting their version of the story define mine. People still talk. Of course they do. The video, the headlines, the drama. It stayed on social media long after I moved on. But the difference now? None of it controls me. I started writing again. Not about the pain, but about the healing. I even launched a blog, under a pseudonym at first, where I shared bits of my journey. The day I finally published the full story, I expected backlash. I expected trolls. I got thank yous. Hundreds of them. From women who'd been drugged, lied to, left behind, blamed, doubted, silenced. My inbox overflowed with strangers who said, "This happened to me too." And that's when I realized, maybe what happened to me wasn't just about me. Maybe the universe knew I was strong enough to survive it so I could show others they could survive it too. One night as I watched the sun dip beyond my tiny balcony, glass of wine in hand, I whispered it out loud. I made it. Not in spite of them, but because I found the courage to reclaim my life. Because even though they drugged me, even though they lied, even though they tried to destroy me the night before what was supposed to be the happiest day of my life, they failed. I'm still here. Wiser, braver, unapologetically whole. And if you've ever been broken, blamed, betrayed, please hear this. You don't owe anyone your silence. You don't owe your past a single second more. Because you are not what happened to you. You are what you decided to become. And I promise you, what's ahead is worth surviving for. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like the video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories just like this one. Your support means everything.